Joining me now on set is NBC News senior Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley and NBC News Chief Justice and National Affairs correspondent Kelly O'Donnell. Thank you guys both for being here. Julia, let's start with you. I mean, what more can you tell us about this new exemption that the president announced over the weekend? He kind of teased it. Now it looks like it's actually being implemented. What does it mean for immigration enforcement?
Well, it means that they're going to be prohibited on where, but not who they can arrest. So this is primarily focused on the workplaces for anyone in the agriculture industry. That includes fisheries and meatpacking plants, as well as hospitality, restaurants and hotels, that they don't want to do worksite enforcement at those places, but it does not prohibit them from arresting those people, those employees, in their communities, at their houses, dropping off their kids at school. What this means is that it protects the employers more than the employees and really saves them from the bad optics of a workplace raid. What it also does is it's another hindrance for ICE when they're trying to meet this 3,000 daily quota that Stephen Miller set. So far, they're usually averaging over 2,000 arrests a day, which is still a historic high. But without those workplace raids, where sometimes they could sweep up over 100 people, they admit in this memo that this will be a problem in trying to reach those target numbers.
I mean, also, what's the sense in shielding employers that are also breaking the law? Obviously, they feel that the folks that are in this country illegally are breaking the law, but aren't these employers somewhat complicit?
Well, and the first whisper that we had of this, it came from Trump when he posted on Truth Social on Thursday, where he said that he was hearing from the leaders of those sectors. So it seemed that he wanted to do something is sympathetic to the employers, not to the employees.
Well, raise some questions about the decision-making there. But we've also seen how Los Angeles has responded to the ICE raids. How are officials in these Democratic-led cities, the cities that President Trump was attacking there, how are they preparing for these similar crackdowns?
Well, we've definitely seen some fierce opposition from the mayor of Chicago, as well as Gavin Newsom posting on X just yesterday over Father's Day, making a lot of his post about how against he was of the Trump enforcement actions that have been going on in L.A. We're also starting to see more protests potentially coming soon in Portland. Seattle is another area they plan to target. And we also know that they have plans to send ICE SWAT teams into New York, Philadelphia, and the D.C. area. So this will be the test for these mayors to see, do they change their sanctuary city policies? That seems less likely. Or is this their chance to stand up to Trump and really try to say that this is a moral line that they're drawing here?
Kelly, the president and his associates, they brag that immigration is their 70-30 issue. How is the base of the party responding to this carve-out that he's seemingly pulled out of the blue?
Well, we've seen, especially from Trump supporters, broad support for his most talked about approach, which is those who have criminal records and that kind of thing. When it gets to areas of the workplace, there can still be a bit of the support in the MAGA faction, but more of an understanding of the practical and of how the demands of the workplace, whether it is rural and agricultural or in a city factory location. And frankly, there are many businesses that rely on undocumented migrants to work positions that are critical. But you do see a bit of a concern about what you might even describe as the migrants people know. People who have a relationship in their community with people who are providing child care or working in nursing homes or working in restaurants and all those different places where they might find employment. So there is a bit of a divide there. But overwhelmingly, the president does say that this is a policy that sticks. I think one of the other questions will be, is the law being applied equally around the country? If he is targeting blue cities and blue states, when is there an unequal enforcement of the law?
Right. And, I guess that goes back to my earlier question about, the employers being a bit complicit in this, right? Because isn't this part of the problem with the immigration policy right now, is that you have a situation where the economy to a certain extent is propped up by all of these workers who are in this country illegally. And it begs the question, Kelly, when the president says that these immigration operations are going to target these Democratic-led cities and not the heartland, well, we know how that looks on the map, right? The Democratic cities are all blue. The heartland is red. Is it really more about politics than it is policy?
Well, certainly he is linking it to the sanctuary city concept. And of course, that came out of the thinking that if you inhibit people in communities by having local law enforcement working with federal immigration law enforcement, that there are a lot of social problems that come from that. People who are afraid to report violent crimes, which would be a local or state matter, and it inhibits the community. It puts a chilling effect on the community. That's where that comes from. Very different than some of what the president is concerned about. But the heartland and the rural states, obviously, many of those locations voted overwhelmingly for President Trump. But they also have agrarian workers. They also have undocumented migrants who are working in all kinds of areas. If you go to a dairy location, if you go to a meat packing, you're going to find there are a lot of undocumented workers. It really will be a question if the president is applying the law in an unfair way.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty complicated issue that politicians have had a very hard time figuring out for a very long time. Julia and Kelly, thank you both for being here. We appreciate it.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.